The UX Jobs Podcast. Let's go.
What about money? Let's talk about money. Now, when I started off in the mid-90s, I didn't know my own value. And it was very difficult for me to price my services. One, because if I priced too high, people didn't understand the value of the work. It's just a website. What's the big deal? Why is it $1,000? That's insane. Of course, the market has since shifted, and the value of the work is well understood, or even more so now. What advice would you give to new designers on what their rate should be as new freelancers?
Being very cognizant of the market is one thing, right? And you can get that on Indeed, Glassdoor, Salary.com, all those things. So being keenly aware of the market that you're in, right? What is considered reasonable in San Francisco proper is not the same as, something in the Midwest, right? It might be egregious in the Midwest just because the cost of living is much lower and therefore the salary is much lower. So being aware of the region and also being aware of the client themselves. Even if you're interviewing for a job at, one of the big Bay Area companies like a Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Twitter, you can expect different offer than Impeccable, right? We're a small, self-funded, bootstrap studio. We're not VC funded. The expectations have to be kind of in line with that. So that's one thing. The second thing is being aware of the client. Number one is being aware of the market. And then number three is being aware of where you stand in the scheme of things. So where your level is at, if you're a beginner, are you a super green beginner, or what do you bring to the table, right? If you are mid-level, you just have to be keenly aware of your own level and where you stand. And also, number four would be, what do you want out of it? For example, Impeccable. I'm the owner of Impeccable. I could probably make more money at Google, yes, but there's so many more things I get out of here that I don't get out of being an employee at Google. So those are the factors you have to consider. Is what else are you getting out aside the monetary compensation? We have a pretty remote team. One of our web engineers is working out of Seattle. That's probably not something that's going to fly with some of these, Bay Area companies they talk about remote work, but a lot of companies, there's a reason they have a big office in SF proper is because they want you to be physically located there. One of the perks of working with this company is as long as you're communicative, as long as you're present on the various channels, we don't care. And you get your work done. We don't generally care. Being able to be remote, being able to live in the town and city that you want is a perk. So understand what you want to get out of it, and not just monetary compensation is important.
Do you recommend charging by the hour or charging per project, and what are the pros and cons of each?
We have three general models. One is just straight up by the hour, 3 hours of design time, sure, 3 hours. That's probably the least risk, and I would recommend starting with that. Charging by the project can be both a pro and a con. If you are a fast worker and you understand the expectations of the client really well and they're pretty easy to please, a fixed price project might be very profitable or beneficial to you. You priced it out and you can get it done in half the time you've estimated, you'll pocket a lot of money. The third model is sort of a retainer model, meaning you kind of guaranteed, hey, if you guarantee me some hours, so here's my base hourly price, right? It's X. But if you book me for 3 months, you get X minus a percentage. Or if you book me for 6 months, you get X minus a slightly bigger percentage. The benefit for you is you don't have to, that they're committed to you and you don't have to go hunting for new work. If you charge by the hour, we have clients who we charge by the hour, and it's because they have no idea of how much they want to use you, right? They may use you 4 hours one week and 20 hours another week and maybe 36 hours another week. So it's very highly fluctuating, and that can cause a lot of stress for an individual. So you may want to figure out a retainer, right? Whether it's maybe a weekly retainer. Hey, here's my weekly price so that I don't have to worry about this week. Work is going to be low. Or you may say, hey, here's my 3-month price. Here's my 6-month price. And then that way you kind of warded off that stress a bit. That's how it really depends on the comfort level of the person.
Now, what happens if a client or potential client in negotiating phase says, we want to offer you a large chunk of equity in exchange for your rate?
Again, that is your comfort level. That is your own personal risk tolerance. I would say we've done very few of those. Let's see. Here's my own experience, the impeccable experience. In the past, we've designed for clients who've gone on to be acquired by Google, by Dropbox, by Airbnb, by LegalZoom. Gee, we only took in cash for that. We really could have used, gotten our hands on some pre-IPO Dropbox shares, for example, right? Wouldn't that have been nice?
Sure.
IPO Airbnb shares, whatever. So in the following year, we said, okay, we're doing a little bit better. We can afford to take some risk for the clients that we think might have some potential. We may discount our services and take some equity on just some, right? Not a lot. So we did that, and this was in 2015. And I can tell you right now, at least two of them have gone out of business. Another one is kind of in zombie mode. They're still around, but they can't raise money and whatever. And the other one is doing okay, right? Like, I don't think they're just humming along. I don't know what I'll ever see out of that, right? Maybe something in the in the next 5 years, maybe something will come out of that. Who knows? I wouldn't count it, right? If you need the cash now, don't do it. Statistically speaking, it's like a lottery, right? I would say, and there's so much you don't control, right? Like, even with everything going right, even if you design an amazing product, maybe the engagement isn't there. Maybe the business model doesn't make sense. Maybe they don't, maybe they're not able to get the next round of funding that they need. So many things can go wrong. So many things are out of your control. I would say, unless your risk tolerance is up there, probably don't do it. Or at least think of it as play money, that you're totally okay with not getting or losing it completely and totally writing off. If you're okay with that and you want to play with let's play money, sure, go for it. But other than that, I think like what we would prefer is cash, because we can deploy that cash however we want. We can use that cash to bootstrap our own ideas. So if you have your own idea for your product or project, unpaid, then you can use that cash to do that. But if you take it as equity and someone else's equity, then you kind of lose some of that control.